Hi, I'm Mary Brody, and I'm the author of Revenue or Relationships Win Both. We'll hear about the unreliability of Yelp reviews, yet we still use them to decide if we should work with a specific company or go to a certain restaurant. Before we buy a car, we may look at consumer report reviews to get an idea of what that car is like to own. Before we decide to purchase an IT system for our companies, we may read Gartner, Forrester, and IDC reviews to see how they rate the product compared to others or how people who use the product liked it for their organization. Why do we do this? Because we value the experience that others have with a company, a product, or a service, and we leverage their experience to determine if a company met expectations or delivered on the claims that it made. Essentially, we read reviews to determine if a company is accountable. Now, companies know that customers value reviews for this reason, and that's why they value them too. But companies also understand that not all reviews on all sites are equal. And we're going to talk about that in this video today. Now, we like to believe that you can't measure the more fuzzy personal side of business, but that's just not really true. There are always ways to measure what seems to be unmeasurable, like business relationships. To measure anything, first, you need to determine what success means to your organization. Then you need to discover and identify what's tangible, factual, and measurable in that fuzzy zone. Determine how those aspects relate to your definition of success, and then ultimately identify which information from this tracking and analysis can be used to determine that you truly achieved your goal. Now, I often worked on optimizing transaction flows and lead gen flows, but that work doesn't always address the larger, more strategic work that makes a sale in the first place. And it's creating great customer relationships. It's the customer relationships, the relationships between people or between people in a company, which ultimately improve trust. And trust builds over time and improves customer conversations, which result in increased sales or revenue. And by measuring specific qualities about a customer relationship, we can use those insights to create better customer experiences and improve transactional and communication strategies that will increase trust and ultimately increase revenue over time. So, how can you measure relationship success in your company? Well, as mentioned in other videos, you can use a few different categories of measurements like engagement, loyalty, brand, and especially accountability. Within each category, there are multiple indicators and measurements for success. But for this video, we're going to focus on accountability and the conversations that support it, or reviews. To me, business happens during conversations. So conversations build business relationships that eventually lead to revenue. And if we consider that conversations, especially digital conversations, are nothing more than content that we know and that content can be tracked and categorized and measured, we can measure the quality of a relationship using content analysis. So how can we do this? Well, first, you need to evaluate and score the review content by mapping it to the company's claims and values. Second, measure the integrity of the author, either an employee or a customer or some other stakeholder, and use that value to weight the score. Third, measure the integrity of the publishing organization and also use that value to weight the score. This approach can be leveraged not just to measure accountability for reviews, but you can use it for awards, certification, or other content items like branding, engagement, or loyalty. But more on those later. To score if a customer believes a company is delivering on its agreements, first, well, you have to list all the agreements. And there will be explicit and implicit agreements made at the company and product level that include company values, and product benefits. Now, once those are listed, evaluate each customer review to determine if it includes items that correspond to the list. If the customer raises these items on their own in the review, then your company definitely delivered on it. And if not, there may be a disconnect that you want to investigate. Maybe the customer's value system is just different than yours. Maybe the customer purchased your company's product for a different reason. and doesn't view the solution the same way you and your company does. And this process is going to help highlight that. Now, the sentiment of the review also matters. If a feature is listed positively, well, it gets a positive value. If it is mentioned in a negative light, well, it gets a negative value. And needless to say, the more detailed the review, the more points you can earn with a positive review or potentially lose with a negative review. Now, you also may want to record what is not included in your list to see if there are trends among customers who have a very different view of your solution. It may provide insights about your company and your brand. And this approach can also help you see trends regarding which of your values and benefits reviewers care enough to mention. Did they focus on one feature that you speak about most, or something else? That knowledge can be helpful for your business because it indicates not just what customers remember, but what they found most useful. And what's ironic about that is usually what they find most useful is memorable. You can also correlate this with revenue to determine which value or benefit influenced the sale the most. What do people remember most about your product? That memorable item will always keep them coming back. Now, you may be asking, why is she mentioning memorable so often? Well, this gets to the peak end rule, which claims that people remember the most extreme in the end of an experience. Most aspects of an experience just really aren't all that memorable. It's rare to experience something extreme. Typically, extreme experiences center around problems and challenges. We often just don't associate extreme experiences around something positive unless it's like extreme winnings or a prize, right? So customers remember very little about experiences except extreme aspects of it and the end. So if a customer remembers a feature of your product or service, there's something about it that stood out to be mentioned. And this is why memorable features are noted and scored. They stood out the most. Now, you may also apply this approach to third-party reviews. You can determine if the reviewers believe that you actually delivered on your benefits. What do analysts, firms, and publications find memorable about your product or service? What matters to them most? That is such great information to know. After you determine how people describe your company and your product and service, you need to determine the integrity of the author, the organization the author is affiliated with, and the organization publishing this review. These elements will weight the score of the review. So let's take a moment to discuss integrity and why integrity is important for determining accountability. Integrity is formally defined as the condition of having no part or element taken away or wanting, undivided or unbroken state, material wholeness, completeness, entirety. It also means the condition of not being marred or violated, unimpaired or uncorrupted condition, original perfect state, or soundness. It's an interesting concept. In society, we like to equate integrity with purity, an idealized perfect form, being admirable and respectable. We value it so much that we've created integrity tests for employees. But integrity tests seem to work because they measure and predict desirable behavior in the workplace and support values like loyalty, views of ownership, and reliability. Then again, even experts say that it's unclear what exactly an integrity test measures. Ironically, researchers don't believe that it's even really integrity. It's something else, but they just aren't quite sure what it is. Now, after some investigation into integrity tests, I started to realize that not only is honesty not connected to integrity, there really is no such thing as honesty for a person or company. Truth is relative, and your perspective of a situation may include facts, but could represent one of many possible truths. So from the research paper, What Constructs Underlie Measurements of Honesty or Integrity by Kevin Murphy, there's a great quote about integrity tests. First, it is reasonable to infer that tests do not measure honesty. People who receive favorable scores in integrity tests may be less prone to engage in dishonest behavior, or may be willing to engage in this behavior in a more narrow range of situations than people with less favorable scores. But there is little to be gained by thinking of these tests as honesty tests. These tests cover a wide range of behaviors and attitudes that would be expected in a measure of honesty, which would logically focus on truthfulness, but not necessarily on impulsiveness thrill-seeking, likelihood of gold bricking, or some other form of counterproductive behavior. Now, honesty, as you can see, is a very tricky subject. It's difficult to track and measure, and something that you just might want to stay away from when it comes to business. There's just too many aspects to it. Another quote that came further in the paper: although the term honesty, integrity, and dependability are often used interchangeably in this literature, a useful distinction should be drawn between them. Honesty refers to a particular respect for truthfulness, whereas integrity and dependability imply a slightly broader conception, including a willingness to comply with rules, internalize values, norms, and expectations. And it's that second definition there: rules, values, and expectations. That's what we want to measure. And I'm less concerned about our reviews or publications' truthfulness or honesty than other values or characteristics that I'll list shortly, especially if there's no way to measure it. A review could be a lie. But if the publication has little integrity, does that even matter? Would a reader find it credible anyway? Or if a review points out that a company lied about something, but in the end the company was accountable and delivered on its promises anyway, does the lie even matter? That may be a philosophical question, but honestly, I'm not sure it does. Because truth is based on perception, and perception is always, well, it's always debatable. And acting accountable and demonstrating traits that support integrity is a more concrete approach for measurement. It's based on action rather than perception of words and meaning. So if a company doesn't deliver on its promise from a customer's perspective, does it really matter if the company lied about it or there was a misunderstanding about expectations? The bottom line is that the company didn't deliver. I suspect that to a customer, rectifying the problem is a better measurement of a company's integrity long term and is a better indicator of its intention to build trustworthy customer relationships. So, why are we not using reputation metrics here? If you ask me, here we're less concerned about the reputation of a company or a person and its perception in the world. Instead, we're tracking attributes and actions that support values of a publication and review authors. There may be one or two metrics that skate on being reputation related regarding the types of decisions a publication is used for, but most are not. Now, the characteristics and attributes that I think that are important to support integrity start with transparency, or as defined in the Oxford English Dictionary, the quality or condition of being transparent, frank, open, candid, ingenuous. A publishing organization may include reviews written by anonymous members. If you don't know who is writing the review, you really have to wonder if the author was even really a customer. Are reviews written by users who have accounts? An account adds credibility because although a user may be anonymous, someone needs to own the account. Now, you could argue that the account could be possibly owned by a bot, but this leads to the next question. Can you validate the author as a customer? That's key to know when evaluating a review. If the reviewer is actually a customer, then the review is completely valid. And if not, it really is unclear if it is. And in that case, the reviewer would need to list his or her employer to prove that it is actually a customer for a B2B sale, or include some other validating piece of data for a consumer sale, either a photo or something else. And that may not be possible for just various reasons. Is the publication open about its relationships with vendors? There may be conflicts of interest, and a publication may use a pay-to-play model for evaluating content. That may cause bias with reviews or their placement on the page for or against the company. Other factors to consider for transparency include how long the publication has been in business, if it's managed by an individual or a team, and about its distribution or its readership. The second factor is reliability, or that may be relied upon, able to be trusted, in which reliance or confidence may be placed, trustworthy, safe, sure. In the US, of a product service consistently good in quality or performance, dependable. Determining reliability could be based on understanding the type of organization that is publishing the materials. Is it a publication, a not-for-profit, or a promotional site? If there are credible authors contributing reviews, full-time staff managing it, high traffic being driven to it through ads or other methods, and regular postings, which is all signals that management takes the publication seriously. Note that there are times when a reliable publication, like a blog, may not have staff, but have regular postings and respected content written by a respected author who is a customer. Or it could be an unreliable publication, which could even be a blog too, with high traffic and staff, but it posts content that is frequently in error. It may be written by anonymous authors, and it may not be used to make key business decisions. Reliability to build trust comes from a few factors: knowledgeable writers, a publication schedule, transparency about the publication's origin. Further, how content is used also helps determine reliability. And yes, reliability is related to reputation. So it is not entirely an accountability metric, not a pure one, but it could be applied here. Over time, you may want to find ways to transfer measurement to actions rather than perceptions, and maybe replace that metric. Third, popular or useful is an indicator that needs to be used cautiously, I would recommend, right? It's defined as being of a belief, an attitude prevalent or currently among the general public, generally accepted, commonly known. It could be epidemic or of things, actions, practices, capable of being put to good use, suitable for use, advantageous, profitable, beneficial. A popular publication can be measured and indicated through site traffic related to length of time in existence. Popularity provides us information about the organization's brand awareness and some level of usefulness or purpose in people's lives because they actually do go to that site for some reason. If someone reads the content, it must be useful in some way. That is one conclusion you could make. Even if the content is not accurate, authentic, or reliable, the reader is getting some type of benefit by reading it. So how do you use these attributes when scoring a review for integrity? Well, different traits and attributes of these values weight the integrity of the review, so the higher the integrity of the author or the organization publication, the review score holds almost its full value. A lower integrity score author or publication will reduce the review score because the review has less integrity. Now, let's review how you score everything. And first, let's start with review content on its own. Now, as mentioned before, list all the values and benefits at the company and product level, and give each value a point and add those values to get the total possible value a review can have. Now, score each piece of content, each review, according to that list, looking to see if the review mentions that value in some way, using positive or negative values depending on the sentiment. That will provide the raw review score. Create a percentage of the raw score over the total value as a way to see the relationship between the total possible score and the raw score. Now, to weigh the scores based on integrity, start with the authors. There are some suggested measures for authors in the notes, but from a high level, you determine your score based on if the author is anonymous or public, if the author is a customer, if they have a relationship with the organization publishing, such as being a type of member. And each attribute contributes to that weighted value, contributing one adjustment to the total score of the integrity of the review. Then you can determine the adjustment for the organization publishing the review. Are the authors anonymous or known? Are review authors customers and experts? How do readers use the publication? Is there staff to manage it? Is the publication open about its affiliations and its partnerships? Is it independent, or is it tied to a product? Each attribute contributes to that weighted value, creating another integrity adjustment. Now, use the company and author adjustments to weigh the scores to get that final score. And this approach provides a bunch of data to correlate with revenue. So you get a total possible score for each review, the actual score of the review, a percentage score for a single review, a cumulative review score for the publication, both percentage and actual, and for each review and the entire publication, you can get a weighted score based on author and/or organization. So a publication may have great reviews for your company, but if it has little integrity or unknown authors, well, you can kind of take those reviews as you'd like. A publication could publish reviews that have low accountability for your company and product and have high integrity for the authors and the publication, which could mean that you have some work to do to catch up. Or you may find that a high integrity publication has a low integrity authors, or vice versa, and your reviews end up being, well, they're just okay, and your perception isn't that great in the market. Now, you could apply this methodology to awards. Awards really are a content type that validates how a company delivers on its promises at the corporate and product level. To get a score for this, map the qualities and traits of the award to the company and product's values and benefits list. That will give you a raw score. Then you can use the same approach for determining the integrity of the company offering the award. You may use slightly different attributes to measure, like transparency about who the judges are or who they represent, their qualifications, and how open the competition is. Those are just to name a few differentiators. You could also use this approach in a predictive way to determine which awards are best for your organization based on the values and benefits of past winners. So what can you discover from this entire exercise? Well, you can identify best practices based on award values and better understand what is being measured and valued in your industry. You can also get a list of the features and determine criteria for winners. You can provide your company teams insights into why you are or are not winning. You can also gain insight into what the industry, third parties, and customers value, which may be consistent with what the award values. And you can also clarify industry values beyond revenue. Now, awards for a company or product should contribute to increased revenue and improve the pipeline. Within 1 to 2 months of winning, you can start to correlate the impact between the award and the pipeline and revenue. A company should have an improved reputation and products will see an increase in sales. However, for team and individual awards, there's possibly no impact except in HR metrics, except if the award relates directly to the product and its revenue. Now, certification supports a company's accountability and provides an opportunity for a company to validate its shared values between the certification organization and itself. The certification organization can help hold a company accountable as a third-party validation. And within 1 to 2 months, you can correlate the impact between the certification and revenue. There should be a bump. For team and individual certifications, there's possibly no impact except in HR metrics, except if the certification directly relates to the product and its revenue. This general method of scoring content against company values or benefits and then weighing that value based on the integrity of the author or a publication or using some other value can help you understand how your company is delivering to customers or communicating its brand or establishing loyalty or promoting engagement. This general method of scoring content against company values or benefits and then weighing that value based on the integrity of the author or a publication or using some other value can help you understand how your company is delivering to customers or communicating its brand or establishing loyalty or promoting engagement. Business is socializing with purpose. Conversations and content are tools that build business relationships that can become a sale. But revenue is only one measurement of success. There are others. This is why the business relationship is so key for the company. Without that relationship, revenue is hard to get. And measuring customer-generated content like reviews and comparing that to your company's perception of itself can help you see if you're both aligned. If a customer believes your company is delivering on its promises, then it's so much easier to have a stronger customer relationship because trust is being built through actions. Actions are stronger than words, they're easier to measure, and they're the clearest form of communication possible. Be accountable to your customers through your actions. It really is the best way to build trust and solid customer relationships. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, and have a great day.